17th, 2024 edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives, back for another season. I'm really excited about 2024, as you can tell. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to the Digital Career Success Series. We're a professional development series that helps members of our Urban League Young Professional chapters and other diverse job seekers develop new skill sets that will enhance their careers through digital platforms such as webinars, Facebook, and Instagram Live. The goal is to provide an opportunity for professional development right from one's computer. If you want more, visit us at nuljobsnetwork.com. We're kicking off the 2024 season in an amazing way today. Our DCSS is charting your career, featuring my dear friend, Mr. Keynote Speaker Michael Robinson, and the career alignment coach, Sophia Ottey. Let's go, Sophia. Please introduce yourself to our Urban League audience.
Definitely. So I'm Sophia Ottey. I'm a career alignment coach, also known as a resume writer, LinkedIn expert, etc. But a little bit about me: I've been an expert for 13 years. I'm also the CEO of OSPP ResumeWriting.com. So really, helping you guys strive through greatness through your careers and understand how to secure a job of your dreams, but also a job that really supports your lifestyle, right? So that's just a little bit about me.
That is a little bit about you, because I know you do a ton of things out here, but we'll get into that a little later. Yeah. Mr. Michael Robinson, Temple University's own. Welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for the invite and appreciate being here today. A little bit about my background. I am Director of Community Outreach and Hiring at Temple University. I also teach a business class at the Fox Business School on power, influence, and negotiation. I'm a pastor here in the North Philadelphia area of Philadelphia for a small urban ministry. And I'm on the governor's commission. I've been appointed by the governor to serve on his commission on African-American affairs for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I'm a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity.
I had to figure that was coming sooner or later. Let's let's do that. Hey, listen, I'm excited to have you both. I know you both supported the National Urban League and doing virtual career coaching and resume reviews during the national conference. We were in Houston, but you guys were near a computer doing what you do best. So I'm excited to have you both here today to speak about charting your career. And really, I'd like to just dive right in. I want to tell you a little bit about our audience. We have an amazing audience on the Digital Career Success Series. So everybody, please tap into the Q&A function. We got Mike and Sophia here. We're talking about charting your careers. When people talk about that, I always start with a self-assessment. And Sophia, I'm going to lean on you, as the career alignment coach right now on this particular question, because I think self-assessment is really important when you think about where your career is going.
Yeah, it is. One of, how I really discovered self-assessment. One time I was working at a corporate job and they made everyone do self-assessments. I think it was on 16 personalities. It's a free website. So if you're looking to have a full diagnosis of who you are, go to that website. But essentially, when you really assess, your skills, your interests, your values, it really allows you to understand what you're moving towards, right? Because I know sometimes you guys can feel a little bit stuck in your career, or maybe you've been in your current position for 20 years and you're like, okay, I want to do something new and fresh and maybe something a little bit aligned with my interests and desires. So start with the self-assessments. They're all online, but you can also obviously get books as well to help you guide through that process. But yeah, it's a great way to start your job search or your transition, etc. Yeah.
So let's speak about that, because a lot of people, probably even on the DCSS call in particular, like people are thinking about pivots and things of that nature. So as we self-assess our skill sets, how do we measure and or address maybe some of the, I know Mike doesn't like me to call them soft skills, but how do we assess some of the soft skills that are out there that people need?
Yeah. So I always tell people, always try to bucket things in three, right? Bucket, let's say job titles in three, bucket interests in three, et cetera. And I always like to tell my clients, if you really look at your past roles or in your current roles, try to think about three things that makes you excited to log into work or to go to work every single day, or try to think about three things that you look forward to once you get off of work, right? And thinking about some of the interests there, that really helps you to condense down your interests instead of feeling like, all right, well, I like to do 10 different things, so maybe I should look into those 10 different avenues. But once you really narrow down that, but also one suggestion that I'm going to say is look at some of the things that your friends and your family also really promote you in, right? So maybe you're known in your family for maybe creating flyers for birthday parties or something like that, or maybe your boss really loved how you were so organized and efficient and really good on client calls. Look at those things and really assess, you know what, that does come easy to me, and I wouldn't mind if I also maybe primarily focus on those attributes in my next role. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense to me. Mike, I don't want to get ahead of us here, but I had Sophia go in and speak about kind of how to bring those soft skills to market. Why don't you just share with the audience what you view as soft skills, but your take on that as well? I know you have a different definition.
Yeah, I hate the terminology, with all due respect to my colleague Sophia. I hate the terminology of soft skills. As a human resource professional, I have found over the years that anytime people got in trouble with HR, typically it wasn't for their ability to do their job. They know how to do their job well. It was for violating some of the soft skills expectations. But I like to reframe that phrase as power skills, because truly, if you're not mastering the power skills, you can get yourself into hot water. And you may ask, what are some of the skill sets that we're referring to when we say power skills? I want to give you at least my top 10 list of what the top 10 power skills are. Communication. If you don't master that, you will not perform well in your job function, regardless of industry. Critical thinking and conflict resolution skills. That's number two. You got to have, good critical thinking skills and your ability to resolve conflict in any job. Leadership. Leadership is expected at all levels, regardless of whether you're an entry-level person or a C-suite professional. Being creative and innovative. You're paid to bring innovation and creativity to the workplace. And then time management. If you're not good at being a good time manager of the time that you have on the job, making sure that you do the important things first, and make sure that you do the things that are highly regarded by your supervisor first. And then time management, teamwork, flexibility, punctuality, making sure you show up on time. Early is on time and on time is late. One of my old heads gave me that one years ago, and that stuck with me for years. And then collaboration and integrity. And integrity to me is so important, not just because I'm a pastor, but you want to be honest, moral, and upstanding in all that you do. Because once you start cutting corners and once you start fudging, whether it be fudging numbers, etc., you're getting yourself in hot water to the point where you could be terminated, and worse, prosecuted for some of the fraudulent things that you do. So that's my top 10 power skills list. And I hate to refer to the skill sets as soft skills.
Hey, Mike, I know that was 20. I know it was 20. I know that I know that was 20 skills, but we're going to start with 10.
Why are you clowning me, man?
That's that Temple University counting he's doing over there, Sophia. It was 10, but it was really 20.
Yeah, I thought it was close to 20, but hey.
All right. So listen, so charting your career. So we move through and then you're setting goals for your career, right? So as we're starting to set goals, I know a lot of people speak about SMART goals. And Sophia, I see the smile, and I know that falls right into your wheelhouse. Talk to our audience about SMART goals as they relate to charting your career, please.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, SMART goals are, once again, something that you're going to use throughout your career or also in life, right? Of how to really position yourself with your short-term and your long-term goals. But S obviously stands for specific. So you want to get a little bit specific in regards to what you're looking to do in your next role or your next space in life, et cetera, or what certification program you're joining, or what, let's say if you're going back to school, what specifically you want to go back to school with. Why you want to start with that, once again, is it really is going to cut down a lot of the wasted time in terms of trying to dive into too many different areas and then at the end realizing, you know what, maybe I don't want to do any of the 10, right? So start with being specific. M is obviously measurable, right? Now, these are things you can also use when you're creating those bullet points in your resume. You want to be specific. You also want to have that M measurable, right? What kind of outcome do you see for your life? What kind of outcome do you see for your career? What kind of financial goals do you also have? But also, when you're thinking about a resume, what numerical values can you bring to the forefront in regards to what you were involved with in your past or your current role? A is achievable, right? So you also want to set your expectations, right? You don't want to just create these goals that you know you will not be able to obtain. So I always like for my clients to really think about, all right, what are the things that you want to focus on in this month, maybe 3 months from now, maybe 6 months from now, as well as what are your just 2024 goals overall, right? Now, once again, you want to make sure that they are kind of gonna be met. You don't want to just shoot blindly, right? And say, hey, you know what? I'm an entry level role right now. I'm going to apply to a director role by 2024, right? Setting your expectations there. R is relevant, right? So you obviously want to make sure that these goals are relevant to your interests, your passions, your like I said, where you see yourself in the next year, 5 years, 10 years from now. And then T is for time bound, right? So you want to make sure that you are next to each goal listing out what is the time that it's going to take for you to meet that expectation and achieve that goal. But yeah, that's a little bit about that. And, you know, creating a roadmap for sure. I mean, we're in January 2024. You still have time to create these plans for yourself. So don't feel like you will start next year because you didn't set the tone for this year. But yeah, that's a little bit of there.
No, that's more than a little bit. That's a lot. I love it. I love it. It's the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. Mike Robinson, Sophia Ottey, Kenneth L. Johnson. Mike, Sophia laid out the SMART goals for us eloquently. Really left me kind of thinking about some different things here, but I want to start with career exploration. Now, I know you have a program that focuses on career exploration that you do, and I think it's New Opportunities Workshop, if I remember correctly. So let's talk a little bit about how people, while charting their career, can set up success from a career exploration standpoint. How do you know where you're going with these SMART goals and these power goals?
One of the things I want to dovetail on that Sophia mentioned about the SMART goals, for me, one of the most important elements of the SMART goal model is the time frame, having a time frame around the goals, because if you don't do that, you won't discipline yourself, number one, to attack the goals and to, you know, attack your objectives. But by having a time frame to lock your goals in, it forces you into action to act on the objectives and action steps to fulfill your SMART goals. So for me, in the SMART goal model, the time piece, having a time frame to achieve certain goals, certain objectives, is critically important. Now, in terms of career exploration, assessment was mentioned earlier. Sophia went into that. There's a assessment tool, and I put it in the chat, called the Hollins Career Inventory. If you go on the internet, you'll probably find various sites that will offer it for free. You take that inventory, it will assess you in 6 categories of personality, interests as it relates to career vocation. And then you can kind of get an idea of what career and industry clusters, based on your career interests and answering the questions in that inventory, of what you're best built for. And so that's a great way to kind of assess a direction you might want to point yourself in terms of self-assessment. And it's a great career tool. If you go on the Department of Labor's website, they have a plethora of information on there, free resources on job descriptions, career assessments. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they even allow you to take the Hollins Career Assessment for free on their website. But in the New Choices Now program that I oversee here at Temple University, it's an 8-week program where we get into career development pieces. We bring in guest speakers to talk about career elements like how to put together an impactful resume, the importance of networking, how to go about crafting an effective job search strategy. We get into those nuts and bolts about how to present oneself in the best possible light. And those are little nuanced things that sometimes can sabotage a person and frustrate them when they're about to embark upon their job search efforts, because oftentimes if you're not strategic about looking for work and positioning yourself well in the best leadership like possible, you can have a failing job search effort, and you can have a failing a career effort in the workplace if you're currently working. So you got to be very strategic about mapping out and charting your career if you're currently working. And if you're looking for work, you got to be very strategic about resume construction, job search strategies, interview effectiveness, and all of that. And you can't take it for granted. I remember somebody told me a long time ago, looking for a job is a job, and that statement can't be, more true.
You know what, Mike? So let's talk about this a little. Let's have some dialogue around this. So charting your career and kind of building the exploration piece of where you're going, whether it's a pivot or you're just coming into your career and trying to find ways to advance. Sometimes, most of the times, networking is a really important component of that. Informational interviews, leveraging LinkedIn for success, professional associations and organizations. Sophia, can you speak to us about what you've seen as it relates to networking? Mike was speaking about strategy and just being strategic in that. Tell me a little bit about how people can leverage networking to chart their career.
Yeah, so you're touching on a good point, because I think a lot of individuals think that sometimes, let's say 100% of the job search is just solely you submitting to job applications, but not really realizing that a lot of individuals are landing jobs through their network or just people that they're meeting on LinkedIn. Thankfully, LinkedIn is out there because you can connect with someone that you are not even in the same region with, that's not even at the same level with you, etc. With just simply sending an email. You can connect with recruiters on there. You can connect with just people who, let's say, like-minded individuals, or even professional affiliations on there. So LinkedIn, I always preach about LinkedIn, and a lot of people get very nervous to utilize LinkedIn to its full capacity, but you're going to want to make sure that you're joining those groups in LinkedIn, especially if you're doing a career transition. That's a great way to kind of get your foot into the door and also understand different conversations that are coming up in regards to your industry. Obviously connecting with recruiters, and even if there isn't a role that is posted, you could still network with them. You could still have an informational interview. You can still use that connection in the future, or you never know if something comes up in their pipeline where they're like, we had such a great conversation. Are you interested in this role? And then once again, you transition that way. But also another thing is the events page on LinkedIn, right? There's a lot of virtual events that you guys can use to network virtually, but also there's in-person events that are also being posted on LinkedIn. So use that to your advantage, meet a new friend, meet a new colleague, potentially, etc. But another thing, about LinkedIn is when you're taking those certification classes, there's also like how we have this chat right now, there's also a chat in those certification and LinkedIn Learning where you could also network that way, right? Where you're like, oh, I just saw that you took this course. I also took this course. What did you think about this particular topic? Would love to schedule a 30-minute call with you just to understand what your career has been in the past and what you're potentially moving towards. Organic conversations can lead to greatness. And I'll stop there because I can go on and on.
Organic conversations can lead to greatness. Yeah, I'm waiting for that t-shirt. I'm waiting for that one right there. I like that. Hey, listen, so Mike, Mr. Keynote Speaker, you're out here all the time at these networking events. Do you have any do's and don'ts for networking?
One of the things you want to keep in mind when you networking is the #1 source of finding employment in America. It's the #1 source of finding jobs. And so you want to master that. And there's passive networking, and then there's aggressive networking. Passive networking is when you have those, chance encounters with people and you make the most of it. You run into a Kenneth Johnson on the street, you run into a Sophia Ottey on the street, and you build on that connection. Have your elevator pitch in your pocket, ready to speak to your accomplishments. And that's important. Anytime you're networking with people, speak to your accomplishments. Don't waste time talking about the duties and responsibilities that you have. I'm not trying to diminish that. That is important and it has its place. But what's going to make you pop among all of the candidates that you're competing with, and what's going to make your background pop more in the eyes of an employer is when you speak to your accomplishments, because that's what sizzles in the mind of employers, and that's what excites managers about their underlings when they see that their underlings are accumulating accomplishments and achievements and triumphs in the professional space. And so speak to your accomplishments, and especially as you're preparing for your annual performance reviews, get in the habit of each week documenting your successes, so that at the time when you're scheduled for your annual review, you will have a laundry list of what you've done in that year in terms of your major accomplishments and even minor accomplishments. I would strongly suggest that people be a part of professional affinity groups. I was a member of the National Black MBA Association at one point, National Association of Black Accountants. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. I mentioned that earlier. Be a part of professional affinity groups, because this allows you to rub elbows with power brokers. This allows you to rub elbows with peer level professionals, as well as mid-level and C-suite individuals who come to these professional group meetings to share information, not just on jobs, but to share industry insider information that the general public won't get first, you know what I mean? But you'll get it firsthand by being a part of these meetings. And then you'll also have an opportunity to flex and stretch your wings in these professional affinity groups, because sometimes you're limited on the job as to how far you can flex and stretch your wings. But in these membership organizations, you have opportunities to manage budgets, to put together projects, to supervise volunteers or other types of personnel. So it gives you a chance to build on your leadership quotient, and then you can sell that to your supervisors, to your bosses on the job, to let them know, hey, look, this is what I'm doing on the outside. And put everything you do, photographs, videos, copies of your certificate, pump that information on your LinkedIn page. 80 to 90% of American recruiters tap into LinkedIn to do recruiting of candidates. So you want to make sure that your profile is very loaded with current event stuff. So just don't have a LinkedIn profile that's lying dormant and stale. In 2012, I had a popping LinkedIn page. LinkedIn awarded me with an award having the most top 5% most viewed LinkedIn profile in America. That was in 2012 when I was younger and I was out there on the speaking circuit like crazy. Kind of pump my brakes a little bit these days. But LinkedIn is a great free platform to really publicize and pump your chest about your accomplishments and your activism in and outside the workplace.
Nah, you didn't put the brakes on, man. You're here at the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series today in 2024. You moving up. Hey, listen. Hey, Mike. So look, people are out networking. They're doing their thing. Oh, by the way, to everybody that's on the call, please leave your questions in the Q&A. We will have a Q&A segment probably at about, I don't know, 12:40, 12:45 with Sophia and Mike answering your questions. So thank you so very much for participating. All right. So Mike, you're out networking. You're part of these professional associations. You're building new skills. But then you have to go to, Sophia, is that when they come over to OSPPresumewriting.com and get that professional service that you provide?
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. You mapped it out right there. But one thing also, I'm sorry to kind of go back to the original conversation as well about networking, is volunteering is also an opportunity for you guys to also network. So your organization has volunteer initiatives every single, mostly sometimes every quarter, right? So making sure that you're signing up for that, especially because they give you hours to volunteer, use it to your advantage. And that also is an opportunity for you to bump your elbows with the CEO or the CFO at your organization, or a director that's working in a department that you're trying to merge into. So sorry to throw that in there. I just had to get that out.
That's awesome
Listen,
advice.
I appreciate you getting that out, but I'm not letting you off the hook on this resume conversation right here. We got the pro online. Listen, next week, or well, 2 weeks from now, our session is on revitalizing your resume. So I don't want to take too deep of a dive in the resume conversation. We'll save that and have everybody come back in 2 weeks. But while we have you here, we need to talk about people kind of adjusting their resume as they're still kind of going through their career journey. I think some people think it's a document that you only look at when you're looking for a new job. I don't believe that to be true.
Yeah, no. I think keeping your resume up to date, your LinkedIn up to date, will only help you in the end, because what's happening with a lot of individuals, even let's say since 2020 really started with the pandemic, a lot of layoffs, are still actually ongoing, right? So I always like for my clients, or even not my clients, to prepare, even if you're not looking for a new role, so that you don't have to get ready. It's better for you to stay ready, right? But with resumes, ultimately, you want to make sure that you are conveying a story that recruitment team wants to know, right? So kind of going back to what I was originally speaking about narrowing down your interests in regards to what kind of roles that you're looking into, what kind of industries you're looking into, because the more that you do that, it's easier for you to create a universal document, instead of every single time that you're seeing let's say a role of interest, you're going in, having to spend 2 hours, 3 hours customizing it, and then getting a rejection email, right? And in 2024, we're going to be very proactive in regards to our time. So optimizing is going to be the word that you guys are going to want to use for anything in your life, right? Optimize your life, optimize your finances, optimize your health, etc. But a lot of job seekers don't really pay attention to the qualifications of roles, right? They're like, oh, recruitment teams should assume that I have the credentials because I've been an accountant for 20 years. Unfortunately, because recruitment teams are heavily utilizing, let's say, ATS software to skim your document, and then once it gets to a recruiter, both of those resources have no clue how to do your job. They're hiring for your job, right? So what you're ultimately going to want to do is make sure, once again, that you're optimizing your document, optimizing your LinkedIn to convey the things that they're asking for in that qualifications area. Now, that's a simple tip. That's a one-line tip right there, but it's really going to help you guys really save the time that you guys are spending on these job applications and creating these extensive resumes. And you also want to make sure that the documents that you are creating are skimmable, because it is true, recruiters only look at your document for maybe 5 to 7 seconds, right? So put yourself in their shoes. They get overwhelmed. They get thousands of applications for one role. So the easier you can really convey that narrative, and also integrate some of the certifications that you've had that align with the industry, integrate some awards, right? Training, use LinkedIn Learning to your advantage. I always tell people, you get free certifications on LinkedIn. And to be honest, a secret I always tell my clients, you can let the video play in the background. You're still going to get the certification. You don't even have to take the quiz. Okay. So do that, add that onto your resume, because once again, it's going to help you further optimize your document. But also for recruiters who are utilizing LinkedIn to find your talent, it's also going to help them as well. Any volunteer initiatives, or professional affiliations that maybe you're like, hey, I'm trying to transition to be a financial director. All my prior experience, I've been an administrative assistant, but you can leverage that experience that you were doing for your professional affiliation or for volunteering, and have something to speak about. But yeah, I hope that was helpful.
And talking about resumes, keep in mind, folks, there are certain formats of resumes. There are thousands of styles of resumes, but there are 3 major formats of resumes, and you have to determine for yourself which format is going to be best for you. There's a chronological resume format. There's which emphasizes your work history, your time in the workforce, where we get the word chronology from the Greek word chronos, time. Then there's the functional type of resume, which emphasizes your skills and the abilities and what you bring to the table. in that regard. And then the hybrid resume, the third and final format, is a combination of the two. It's the best of both worlds. Now, any of those formats are applicable for the workplace, but you have to figure out which one is ideal in selling you, which one fits you. And that's a personality thing. You have to determine that. But also, when it comes to constructing a resume, what makes a potent resume versus one that's impotent is that a potent resume emphasizes your accomplishments. Make sure you understand that. A resume that will distinguish you from the pack is a resume that will highlight your career in industry and community and civic accomplishments.
Exceptional. And I know a lot of you are going to have additional resume questions. January 31st, two amazing guests coming up to speak about resumes. We'll share a little bit about that before the show closes. All right, look, so we've been there. So, all right, so we understand our skill sets, right? So, you know, we got the smart skills, the power skills. I'm sorry, Michael. Why do I keep calling you Mark? We got the power skills, and then we also have the SMART goals. Our resume's tight. We've been out networking professionally, but we're still not getting it done. And a lot of times people think that that's a matter of amping up your professional brand in today's world, right? It's 2024. Mike said, you got to show up on LinkedIn. You got to show up strong on LinkedIn. But there's also other ways to brand yourself as a leader in your space, your industry, et cetera, et cetera. Either guest today, if you want to chime in on how people can kind of amplify their brand without seeming pretentious, without seeming arrogant, but seeming like a value add to other individuals. I've seen this work, and people get opportunities because they position themselves and their brand in spaces that allow them to be tapped for success. Let's talk about it.
So one of the things that, and I love the media, using local media, whether that's social media or the traditional landscape of media, radio, print, and TV media, regardless, I love utilizing those platforms to promote one's brand. If you have a certain expertise and skill set, I would reach out to local media, TV, radio, television, and some of those popular podcasts that deal with career-related topics and let them know, hey, look, if you ever need a guest to speak on topic regarding such and such content, you know, add me to your Rolodex list. I'm dating myself by saying Rolodex. By adding me to your list of professional guests that, you know, you might want to utilize down the road to talk on this particular topic. I would also write articles for those professional journals that are related to your profession. Submit articles, make sure that, you know, you're citing great sources that are recognized within the industry. And if you could reach out and call folks who are recognized in the industry to provide a few quotes on the article that you're providing, that kind of adds greater credence to the potency of that article. And then I would also, as I mentioned, and I'm beating a dead horse, be a part of these professional affinity groups because you get high visibility, as Sophia mentioned. You get to rub elbows with C-suite level individuals as well as peer level individuals. Be a part of the Chamber of Commerce. Be a part of an accounting association if you're an accountant. I'm a part of SHRM, the Society of Human Resource Management. That's my professional association.
The National Urban League, the National
Yes!
League Young Professionals. How about those places? Right? Those are great places to advance your brand and to network and to serve just as a servant leader in some of those spaces as well. So yeah, we definitely appreciate that. Look, I'm just looking through the chat. I see we have some members of BEEP on here. I don't know if Kendall Monk's on here, but he's doing a great job with the professionals in that organization or affiliate of the National Urban League. So, you know, align yourself with people that understand some of the opportunities and challenges that we may experience as job seekers or career seekers in general. And you don't have to be the first to uncover what's going on out here. Other people have went through it, and they can be advisors, mentors, sponsors to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So I can appreciate that segment of it as well. Listen, so as we talk about charting your career, and we're putting all the pieces together, right? Once you do that, how do you just continue to, I guess, solidify yourself and still find opportunities? Sometimes you find that perfect job for yourself and you're working it for a year or two, but there might be more that you want to do. I know Sophia spoke about volunteering, but sometimes we're in a space where people have side hustles and other things that they're doing, not only to, I guess, position them as an expert in their space, but also to accumulate additional skills. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm going to jump into this
Let's go.
because my business actually used to be a side hustle. Okay. I
Love it.
actually used to be a data analyst when I was working for corporate organizations. I was an HRS reporting analyst. I was a data analyst here, etc. But when I created my business in 2011, I had no idea what I was doing. Okay. But I knew I wanted to create a business because I was thinking about, all right, in the future, do I see myself actually going into the office and working for someone, right? I always had this idea of like, I want to be home and raise my future family, etc. So when I created my business, instead of going out and hanging out with my friends on the weekends, I said, you know what, let's drill down. And it was a skill set that I actually was doing for free, resume writing. And then once people started coming back to me and saying, I got this job, I referred you to this, I said, you know what, maybe I can actually turn this into a profitable organization. So sometimes, once again, it just starts like that, right? Look at the things that your family or your friends or your colleagues are really saying, wow, you're really good at that, right? And especially if it comes easy to you, that's even better for a side hustle. A lot of people don't think about, using their services as a consultant to a person or another organization, or even short-term projects, right? So going to Upwork, going to Fiverr.com, going to so many different, even on LinkedIn, you can actually post what services that you want to offer. It allows you to, once again, acquire an additional skill, but also advance the skills that you have. And then also solidify some testimonials, right? Those clients are going to be those people who are going to go to bat for you, right? When you're sleeping well at night, they're going to be promoting you and you're going to get a call the next day and say, wow, this is great, because word of mouth travels a long way. And the better that you execute these services, the more work that those clients do for you than you need to do for your end. But especially if you're looking to secure some additional funds, or also, once again, transition into a new realm, I always push people, look into side hustles. It just alleviates a lot of that stress that you're like, I have to leave my 9 to 5 for.
Well, let's talk about this. So from a charting your career standpoint, so last season we had Melinda Emerson and Alicia Worthington. A lot of you guys might know Melinda, the small biz lady, right? And then Alicia Worthington, an exceptional person. But the conversation was entrepreneurship. I think even internally within your workplace, you can position yourself for stretch assignments or other opportunities to support other departments organizationally. That also allows you to, I guess, not only identify opportunities and connect and network, but also to acquire some different skill sets, or take a skill set that maybe you're using outside of the job and bringing it back in to position yourself maybe for promotions, raises, other opportunities, things of that nature. Mike, talk to me. I know you're getting around out here, so I know you've taken some stretch assignments because I've seen it in practice. I'm like, Mike showed up here. And then Mike starts talking about what he does, and I'm like, Mike should be here. So let's talk about that.
So I'm going to kind of backdoor into answering that question. And one of the things that I want to state to kind of segue into answering that question is that mentors can help you with that. Mentors can help you navigate your career in, huge ways. And sometimes, especially for those that may be introverts, you may be a little intimidated about establishing some, foundational relationships with people that can mentor you because you're an introvert. By nature, I'm an introvert. A lot of people have a hard time accepting that, but I am a huge, introvert. When I go home and company comes over, my wife hates it when I go upstairs. Like, I'll greet everybody and then I'm upstairs. I'm really private like that. I get recharged in energy by being to myself. But I know how to dial that down. I know how to dial the volume of my introvert personality down. And over the years, I had to learn how to turn the volume up on being an extrovert. And when it comes to being mentored, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be a little bit vulnerable, especially for those of us who are natural introverts. You have to be willing to be vulnerable to establish those kind of relationships with people who are willing to mentor you. And I've had formal mentors. Those are people who have legitimately taken on the role of being your mentor. And then I've been mentored by people from afar who don't even know I exist in this world. But because I follow their good work that they do, I learn from their mistakes and especially from their successes. And so those are some ways that you can help chart and navigate your career in a very powerful way by having some experienced upper level people mentor and guide you in this sea called the workplace. And here's the other thing. There's a concept out here that's not talked about when it comes to mentoring, and it's called reverse mentoring. That's where you, as the professional, can offer your mentor some insightful information that they may not be aware of. I'll give you an example. I'm 50 years old. That's how old I am. In other words, I'm just old, folks. I'm 63 years old. And there are some young people that I meet who have been my supervisors, right? And there have been people that I've met who are my supervisors that have been older. But what I've noticed when I'm the old head supervising and mentoring a young person, guess what? When it comes to technology, using that as an example, the young people know technology like that. They're on top of the technology. And so they help me understand some of the newfangled ways of managing social media, the newfangled ways of certain software and new technologies that are introduced in the workplace. And because the young people are on top of that, for the ones that I'm mentoring, they have helped mentor me in this space of technology. And so I say all that to say, everybody has a niche expertise that can help those that you supervise and those that are mentoring you, that are managing you, that are supervising you. So don't be afraid to take hold of that concept of reverse mentoring and show people how to do things in a more efficient and expert way. How does that song go? Let me show you what I'm working with. You know, do that.
All right, so we're gonna jump into the Q&A right now. I definitely appreciate you guys leading the conversation because there are a ton of questions here that we have, but one that I think leads directly from what Mike was speaking about into Sophia's wheelhouse, and I'm so interested in hearing your answer here. Someone asked a question about creating a resume through ChatGPT. How do you feel about individuals using that interface basically to create a document that they're going to use to represent themselves?
Yeah. So I like to say it like this, you know, a lot of people, let's say, use LinkedIn Easy Apply, right? If everyone's using that strategy, is it really easy apply or is it getting led to a dark hole where everybody's kind of applying the same way? So ChatGPT is a great way to get a foundation. However, utilize it for just that. You don't want to copy and paste information from ChatGPT because someone else is also doing the same thing, right? So you want to make sure that you're embedding some uniqueness in regards to, you know, the information that is being supplied, and also reviewing the information to see if it's anything that you actually have done, right? But once again, AI is a tool that you're going to want to get comfortable with. It's taking over a lot of industries. It's taking over a lot of jobs, etc. And I like for my clients to position themselves in a way of getting ahead of it instead of just letting it, you know, sit back 5 years from now and feeling completely lost of how you can leverage it to your advantage. So yeah, once again, use it to just the foundation, but once again, go in and edit it so it's a little bit more relatable to what you're submitting to, as well as the roles that you're going to be submitting for. So in the end of the day, you're still going to want to look at those job postings and make sure that it's answering the question of those job postings. But yeah.
All right, so listen, thank you so very much for answering that. Mike, I have a question for you, my friend, and it comes from one of our attendees here today. They say they're looking to switch their career. They just recently graduated with their MBA. Their undergraduate degree is a BSW. They've been working in county government for the past 22 years, but they just don't know where to start just to even switch. Any help would be greatly appreciated. I know this leaves you at a disadvantage because they didn't actually share what career they're looking to switch to. But in general, do you have any information for or any advice for this person?
A couple of things I would suggest. If they graduated from an undergraduate program or a grad program, as in this case they did, I would go to their alma mater and I would check in with their career service office because their career and their alumni office, because the career service office has resource tools that can help assess them, especially if they're changing from one industry to the next. And so they can take advantage of the Career Service Center, even as an alumni, that can help them with that. Also, the Career Service Office offers throughout the year on-campus interviews with employers coming to visit. And if as an alum, you can get a hold of that roster of dates that they're having job fairs or employers or specific employers coming in that may interest you, take advantage of going out to those events. And then you have career staff available to you to help coach you up so that you can ask them key questions and they can coach you up on things. And then you got, independent professionals that, exist like Sophia that you can connect with that can help coach you up. She's a career alignment specialist. She's nationally renowned. So, she's a great resource for that kind of stuff. And then with the alumni office of your university alma mater, they have current alumni contact information where alumni are working. And so if there are particular companies of interest that are on your vision board that you're interested in applying to, reach out to the alumni office to find out what alumni from your school are working at or possibly working at these employers, and then network with them and get their guidance and information on how you can best position yourself at their company.
I want to kind of piggyback on that. The importance of showing up is everything. Especially when you're navigating the career change and or pivot. I think, and I say showing up and just understanding that I mean in the scope of your professional associations in the workplace, just showing up to events, showing up to just different things that will allow for you to network and meet people. I think it really does wonders for any type of career exploration and or search. Sophia, I want to speak to you about this question here. Someone wants to know what you think about adding professional hobbies and personal accomplishments on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, so in regards to personal hobbies that align to the career you're striving to have, sure. But I'm not so much a resume writer that's putting skydiving on a resume, right? Unless the organization that you're submitting to, maybe they're asking for it, and make sure that you're supplying maybe your top 3 hobbies that you're involved in, right? Same thing for any personal achievements, right? Because you still want to make sure that it's still coming off professional. And in the end of the day, an organization isn't going to hire you just because you're a great cook at home. They need some, alignment with where were you a chef, right? They need some references, right? Besides people that specifically know you from your personal life. But that's how I would answer that question.
I appreciate it. I'm looking at one of these questions in the Q&A, and they say, what if you don't like people? Hey, there's tech careers out here where you don't have to deal with people a lot, right? You got to find that space.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, you're the introvert. I'm not saying you don't like people. I think you kind of like your space, but what if you don't like people?
See, remember earlier when I mentioned, my top 10 power skills, and one of those things that I mentioned was collaboration and teamwork. And so whether you're introvert or extrovert, you have to learn how to be around people and work alongside with them and manage some of the knuckleheads that you're going to encounter on the job. In some cases, you're going to have, a supervisor that's just a nut. So how do you manage up? How do you manage that relationship? You're going to have coworkers that are nuts. How do you manage those work situations? Because you're not going to be always in an optimal work situation. There's always going to be some nuts that you got to deal with, and you have to learn how to manage that. And that leads me to my self-promotion. There's a book that I'm utilizing for my class. I teach a class this semester on power, influence, and negotiation. And the book that I'm using that kind of speaks to how to negotiate and navigate and deal with different types of relationships you'll encounter. The book is entitled Negotiation Made Simple, and the author is John Lowry. So I would highly recommend this book as part of your personal library. But those are some suggestions that I would make, and how to tackle and manage difficult people that you will encounter on the job.
Well, we appreciate the book reference, and I believe the team will probably drop the title of that book in the chat. Hey, you know what? While we're on books, before I forget, Sophia, I know you have a book out there, right? Do you have a book?
I wish. Maybe it's
All right.
coming soon. Maybe you're manifesting it.
I see that for you. I see that for you. All right, listen, I'll tell you this, though. You're going to definitely know how to answer this question. There's a question about a personal branding website. Do people need that? Do you recommend that? Or can they just use LinkedIn as that space?
So I always like to say, positioning yourself higher than the competition is always going to want what you're going to want to keep in mind. Right now, you don't need to have your own personal website. However, if you are in the creative space, for sure you need that. You need a external resource to have a little bit more of your your media products there, especially if you're in a tech space, right? Utilizing GitHub if you want to, or you could create your own website. Why I push clients to think about creating their own professional website is it allows for recruiters, or just, let's say, potential people who want to network with you, to see some of the things that you're about outside of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is unfortunately a clean format, right? You can't really showcase your creativity there. You can't really showcase any, let's say, data visualization dashboards that you created, right? So you want to think about an external resource that you can create that really encompasses all those things, so that you can also add it to your resume, which I usually do when clients do have that, if it aligns to that space. But also you could add your website to your LinkedIn bio now, right? So add it in the LinkedIn bio, so someone who goes to your LinkedIn can click external portfolio and see, oh, wow, this is all the things that they do. I'm definitely going to contact them to see if they're interested in this role, or to see if they want to come to this this professional group, etc. So I advise doing it, but not all spaces require it. Like if you're an accountant, you don't need to create a personal website unless you want to go into consulting and doing it on more of a side gig basis. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Listen, we're getting ready to wrap up here, but I saw one question that I wanted to answer, and I'm going to answer this from the lens of a recruiter. The question was regarding recruiting and talent acquisition professionals ghosting candidates. They said they believe they're being ghosted, and they want to know what they should do about that. Listen, I know it's a term that's out here, and I believe it exists at some levels, but most recruiters good recruiters, they're not ghosting you. It's not a no, it might be a not now. So I need you to continue to have activity, continue to check in, but also, is there any type of value you can add to those recruiters or talent acquisition managers, professionals, that can keep the lines of communication open? We want to fill jobs. I get paid to fill jobs. So I would never ghost you, because I'd like to place you. And with that being said, every recruiter I know has a group of recs that are open, and they're trying to take them off their slate. So just stay positive, stay networked, and look for ways that you can add value. Listen, it's the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, our kickoff to 2024. Mr. Keynote Speaker Michael Robinson, the Career Alignment Coach Sophia Ottey. You guys were amazing today. Mike, any last words? And please let our audience know how to stay connected to you and the things that you're doing out here in the world.
Absolutely. I just placed in the chat a huge resource tool that I think will help everybody develop a potent resume. It's called a word generator. Word generators, you upload your resume into them, and it will pop out for you words that are frequently referenced or phrases that are frequently referenced in your resume. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out, if you do that, it will show you what words pop in your resume. And then if those words aren't aligned with the job description information or certain keywords in the job description, then you need to revise your resume. So that's in there.
We really appreciate that. Revitalize your resume January 31st with Brenda Mariah, president of the National Resume Writers Association, and Denise Mills coming on to speak about just that. Mike, how do we get in touch with you?
215-204-0677, 215-204-0677, or my email, mike.robinson@temple.edu, mike.robinson@temple.edu.
This is what I love about Mike. He just doesn't send you to the social media accounts. He gives you exact information. And listen, I've called that number. He answers that number. Sophia, Ottey, listen, 2 things here. Please let everyone know how to stay in touch with you. And I think you have an offer for our audience, if I remember correctly.
I do. So make sure that you connect with me on LinkedIn and add a note, okay? Add a note, say I'm coming from this event so I can make sure that I connect with you. But also, for anyone who's interested in any resume writing, career coaching, job search assistance services, make sure that you head over to osppresume.com. And for whoever is on this actual video, you guys will get a free cover letter with any purchase of a resume. Now that could be same day resume, 1 business day resume, and 5 to 7 business day resume. So go on and use that code NUL, that is correct, to get that free cover letter. And then in regards to, once again, where you can find me, connect with me on LinkedIn. And that's where a lot of my contact information is as well. But thank you guys so much for joining, and ask me any questions. Shoot me an email, shoot me a DM, and I will certainly answer those for you.
We really appreciate you. My name is Kenneth L. Johnson. I'm the host of the Digital Career Success Series here for the Urban League Jobs Network. On behalf of the National Urban League, Wanda Jackson, Corey O'Donnell, who did an amazing job today. Shout out to you for pulling us through, and the entire Digital Career Success Series team over there at NUL. I just want to thank you. And please circle back with us next week, January 31st. Brenda Mariah, Denise Mills. Again, Brenda, president of the National Association of Resume Writers, Black woman, here just to give you, I don't know, the best advice in the world on creating a resume. This is what we do. Kenneth L. Johnson, thank you. We'll see you on the 31st.